Alrighty, so today I'm going to be drawing with a Mexican market Pentel EnerGel pen for the first time. And I'm going to be giving it a full review as well. In specific today, I'm going to be drawing with for the first time, and I'm going to be reviewing the Pentel EnerGel BLN 415 0.5 millimeter pen. I don't know anything about this pen. I don't know if it's sold anywhere aside from Mexico. I assume it more than likely is, but I don't know anything for sure. But what I do know is that one of my family members who recently went to Mexico was kind enough to pick me up this pen right here, as they know I like my stationery. And I'm looking forward to finding out just how good this pen actually is for the first time in today's video. And I'm looking forward to seeing how well it draws, and I'm looking forward to seeing how well it writes as well, or maybe how bad it draws, or maybe how bad it writes. Who knows? This might not be a good pen, but I'll be frank, I am expecting a better experience than not from this pen, as Pentel EnerGels tend to be a little bit better than not in my personal experience. But before I go ahead and actually get the pen all out, and before I go ahead and actually get drawing, I'm going to go ahead and first off go over the packaging of this pen right here. Then after that, I'm going to go ahead and get the pen all out. I'm going to go ahead and let you guys know what it actually looks like, what it feels like, what the quality is like, how it sits in hand, what the weight of it is like, everything like that. And then after that, I'm going to go ahead and grab my sketchbook that's over to the side over here, and I'm going to go ahead and, well, actually get to drawing with a Mexican market Pentel EnerGel pen for the first time. And I'm going to let y'all know how this pen is to draw with. But as said, first off, we got to go over the packaging, which is a more simplistic yet still a nice look. Which is a more simplistic yet nice look? Well, it's a more simplistic look than not that still remains a nicer look than not, I do suppose is really the right way of putting it. We can see one side of the packaging is all white and the other side is all red. And on this side, most of the details are all in red, although there's not really many details to this side, frankly put. And then on this side, due to the red background, most of the details are all in white. And we can tell very easily that this pen is from Mexico, because everything right here is all in Spanish rather than being in English. Really no big surprise, frankly put. Let's go ahead and start off with the Pentel logo itself. The Pentel logo itself looks pretty normal. It's just on a white background in red, of course, and it's just the Pentel logo. Really not too much to say about it, in all honesty. Below the Pentel logo, still on the left side of the packaging, we can see on a yellow background in black, it just says 0.5 millimeters, and then it says Punta Metallica right there. Now, I did no translations at all for this packaging, so I have no clue what some of the stuff says, but I'm guessing that Punta Metallica means metal point. I'm guessing, at least. That's really just a guess, in all honesty. Moving on below that, we can see down here in red, it just says Nuevo, and then it goes to white because it goes to the red background, but it just says Nuevo Bolgrafo de la serie EnerGel. And I'm thinking that means new ballpoint pen for the series, for the lineup of the EnerGels, or something like that kind of thing. This is not a ballpoint pen from what I know. It is a gel pen. There's a difference, right? I think there's a difference. I could be wrong. I'm not really super up on that, in all honesty. But either way, this is leading me to believe that this is a newer addition to the Mexican market than not. Starting off at the top on the right-hand side now, we can see it just says EnerGel right there in a very stylized font, all in white on that red background with a red insert in the text itself as well. EnerGel itself is indeed copyrighted as well. Below that, it just says Bolígrafo con tinta de gel licuada, which I think just means like pen contains tinted gel liquid, something like that. I really don't know, in all honesty. That's all in white. Moving on below that, it just says color de barrel indica el color de tinta. Indica is either a strain of a drug, or indica is a just color. It's like blue, isn't it? I can't remember. Is this a blue pen? I'm not sure. I have no idea. Let's go ahead and move on below it. It just says Secado Rapido, Escrueta Suave, Diseño Moderno y Dinámico, and then under that it says Lineata Precisa y Fuerte. I know what this means. I don't know what any of this means, in all honesty, though. This just means precise lines, I'm thinking. Like precise lines in writing or something like that. It probably means something like that. And that's pretty much all there is to the front of the packaging, in all honesty. It's a little bit more of simple packaging than not, but it does its job, and it definitely does do a good job of calling out to you from the shelf, I imagine at least. It's a little bit more distinct than not due to the red and white backgrounds, that is for sure, along with the yellow on there. That certainly does help as well. Let's go ahead and take a look at the back of the packaging though. And the back of the packaging is pretty much all in black and white. It just has the actual pen, number, name, product code, whatever, right there. It just says BLN 415-5, and it just says ARI1323 right there. Then we just get the Pentel logo right there, all in black, and then it just says EnerGel right there, line, and it just says Escueta, Suave, Staccato, Rapido. Oh, so with that, this is helping. So it's got a suave, so I think that means like comfortable to hold, and then like dries rapidly, and then like vivid colors. Colors vividos. Yeah, vivid colors. That makes sense. And then under that, we get like a little bit of a rectangle right here with like a bunch of stuff. It says Boligrafo Energel Tinta di Gel Liquida su formula da un efecto spromso di leggera. I don't speak Spanish. I'm butchering everything. So if y'all speak Spanish, if y'all are from Mexico, if y'all are from any Spanish-speaking countries, my sincerest condolences. I don't speak Spanish, but let's go and continue. La derecha y subidad en la esquerra. I don't know what any of that means. Sin, I know sin means contain. Sin means does not contain. Because con means contain, sin means does not contain. So sin, grumos, y sin machas, la tinta si seca rapida. I don't know what that means. Peso ligero con 12 lados en la el cupo que aumentan considerablemente la comodidad de uso. Posse grip con, I think the grip just means grip. Con renus on Dulados para en izquierda, comfortable. So, comfortable grip. I'm pretty sure that's what that means. Color de barrel negro, color de barrel negro con exclusivo diseño moderno deportivo sutil y muy dinamico. So it says negro right there. I know that is in Spanish. That means black, I want to say. And so if I had to guess, this is probably black ink if I had to guess. And then under that, it just says punto de 0.5 millimeter. And then it just says el color de la tapa indica el color de la tinta. I don't know what any of that means. Under all of that, we can see on a black background down here, it just says importado, so imported by Pentel de Mexico, SADCV, General Marino, Arista, number 54, Nave 15, Col Argentina, Pointed CP11230, Miguel Hidalgo, Ciudad de Mexico, RFC, and then there's a bunch of numbers under that. And it's got like their websites over here, the barcode right here. The reason there's a red thing over the barcode is because this was bought at a store. So one of the things in Mexico that some stores do when you're walking out with a product or when you buy a product from them is that they go ahead and just stick a tag on it just so they know you've actually paid for it. So if you have one of these tags, they know you've paid for it and whatnot, so you're all good to go. They're not going to think you're shoplifting or anything like that, and that's why this has this red tag on it. One of the stores that does that mainly is, oh man, I can't remember the name of the store, but it's like a popular chain store that sells pens and stuff like that kind of thing. It's in a decent amount of the area where I've been to in Mexico so far. Just says under all of that though, Hecho en India, Impreso en Mexico. I don't know what Impreso in Mexico means, but Hecho en India just means made in India. And that's pretty much all there is to the packaging as a whole. Without further ado, let's go ahead and get it all opened up now. And let's go ahead and take a look at what this pen actually looks like, what it feels like, what the quality is like, and everything like that. So let's go and see if I can actually get this all opened up now. And we can see on the back of the pen, there's a barcode. So you can just crack this open and then sell it individually if you really want to. But of course, this place is not doing that. And let's go ahead and just get this all out just like that. And just feeling the pen right off the bat, it's made of very obviously, I'd have to say like ABS plastic. No big surprise. And honestly, I really like the look of this pen right off the bat. I do like the look of this pen. It feels pretty dang nice in hand right now. Let's go ahead and just go over the look of this pen first. Let's go ahead and start off with the cap I do think. So the cap itself is a clear black, as we can see, and this is stuck to that. I don't know why that's stuck to that, but the cap, as we can see, is a clear black on the front in silver. It just says Pentel EnerGel BLN 415 right there, and then 05 right there, emphasizing that this is a 0.5 millimeter pen. There's some little vent holes, or maybe not even vent holes, they're just little design things right there. We can see on the back we get the barcode, just says liquid gel ink, and then it just says the product code again, and it says remove the tip protector before use, recap after use, made in India, and then just says 0.5 millimeter ball, needle point, black. So, this is the black colorway, or the black ink color one. That's not wanting to come off. This is not wanting to come off. Oh, nope, that is coming off now. There we go. Got that off. That's nice. Glad I got that off. And as a whole, the cap, I mean, it looks pretty normal. It's nothing too insanely different than usual, in all honesty. Let's take a look at the pen itself. We can see the tip right here is a clear black, just like the cap itself is as well. And then moving on below that, we can see it just says Pentel right there. I don't know how well you guys can see it, but it just says Pentel right there, just embossed into the pen itself. Then there's a line, and then there's some ridges right here that are the grip. And then going on down the pen all the way to the end, we can see it just says EnerGel right there. And then there's just the end of the pen right there. And the overall grip of this pen is, it's not a hexagonal, it's more like octagonal. Octagonal? I don't know if that's really the right way of putting it, but it's like octagonal or something like that kind of thing. It's not circular. It's not circular, but it's kind of circular at the same time. So there's different ridges and everything like that kind of thing. As we can see, it's not quite a circular pen. Let's say this pen or something like that. This is circular. This is not circular. My phone just said it only has 20% left. I think we should be all good, but this is not quite circular. This is more like octagonal or something like that kind of thing, I definitely have to say. And just holding it in hand, it feels a lot more circular in hand, though. I think that's really just a design preference point and everything like that. It does not really feel like it's a hexagon in hand or anything like that. I've got some pens that are pretty much hexagons like this one. You can have, it feels a little bit circular in hand just because it's a hexagon, but not really at the same time. You can really feel the different ridges, and honestly, it gives it a different feel than other pens. This pen, on the other hand, does not have that much of a different feel, but definitely a little bit of a different feel for sure. Just not an insanely different feel. Just holding this pen just like this, with the cap off, I'd have to say it's weighted a little bit more towards the front than the back. Just holding it like this. And I'm having to hold it a little bit more like this, so not quite in the middle, so it's definitely not centrally weighted by any means. It's definitely weighted a little bit more towards the front than the back, if you ask me. That's good for drawing. I prefer pens, personally speaking, that are weighted more towards the front for drawing than towards the back. I like pens that are weighted towards the back for writing, pens that are weighted towards the front for drawing, so I do think that with the cap off, at least this pen could be good for, well, drawing with. The overall feel of this pen, how comfortable is it in hand? It's a little bit more comfortable than not in pen. In hand. The plastic itself does a pretty good job of not really leaving any marks and also not really sticking to your skin or anything like that too much. I've definitely used some pens before where I'm trying to rest it in my hand and it starts sticking to me and whatnot. This pen does that a little bit, but not really to any significant degree. You can definitely tell it's a cheaper pen than not, just from the construction of it and also from the fact that it does rattle just a little bit as well, but really no big deal in all honesty. As a whole, pretty comfortable in hand. Without the cap on the end, it's weighted a little bit more towards the front than the back, but it's not super heavily weighted towards the front by any means. It is more evenly weighted than not. Let's go ahead and put the cap on the end now, and let's see how it's weighted now. And with the cap on the end, it is weighted much more heavily than not to the back, much more heavily weighted to the back than it was weighted to the front with the cap off. So if you want to write, I definitely say have the cap on. If you want to draw, I definitely have to say have the cap off. I think I'm going to leave the cap off for this video today. As a whole, feels pretty nice in hand. Looks pretty nice as well. Definitely is a little bit of a unique look when compared to a lot of other pens I've seen previously. I haven't really seen a Pentel EnerGel or any other pen that really quite looks like this one, and I do like the look of this pen. In hand, it's a little bit more comfortable than not to hold. You don't really want to hold it right here on the grip itself by any means. You definitely want to hold it right here, and when you're holding it right there, it is a little bit more comfortable than not. Well, I do suppose without further ado, I should probably go ahead and actually get to writing and drawing and testing out this pen, though, and letting you guys know how it actually is. I'm kind of just theorizing how it is right now. Right now, I'm thinking it's going to be pretty good, but I don't know anything for sure, and so as such, I do suppose without further ado, I should probably go ahead and grab my SOHO Urban Artist Sketchbook, and I should probably go ahead and get it all opened up to the nearest open page so I can actually go ahead and I'll get to drawing and testing out the pen for the first time. Let's go and just bring my camera up just a little bit, just like that. And let's go ahead and now get this little bit of a nib off the end, if I can. Give me some trouble. I don't break it, but it's kind of coming off in pieces. There we go, got it off. Kind of came off in pieces. That was not so friendly, but that's okay as long as this works. There's a little piece connected to that. I'm going to throw those away after this video. Don't want those scattered around my desk by any means. Well, let's go ahead and just start writing with this pen. Let's go ahead and start testing out this pen and just to get it warmed up just a little bit before I go ahead and actually get to drawing. So let's just do a little bit of just a little bit of a face right here, I definitely have to say. Right off the bat, the ink itself is a lot more vibrant than not, I definitely have to say. I'm also really liking, it's kind of got like a little bit of a scratchy look to it. It's very vibrant. The lines are very distinct, a little bit more scratchy than not, I definitely have to say. And I like that look. I like the whole sort of scratchy look and whatnot. That's something I really appreciate. There we go, just like that. Yeah, no, as a whole, I'd have to say, you know, right off the bat, a little bit more of a distinct look than not from this pen. Definitely got a little bit of a scratchy look to it. Definitely very vibrant ink. Let's see how it dries though. Just taking a look at some of the ink that dried up here. It does fade a little bit, but not anything to any significant degree, which is very nice. I'd have to say it fades at about the same rate or at about the same level as, like, let's say a Pilot G2 or something like that kind of thing. Just putting my hand over it, we can tell it's already all dried. Nothing is smearing or anything like that. Got no ink on my hand, I want to say, at least. As a whole, you know, seems to be working pretty good so far. Let's go ahead and flip to the next page and let's do a little bit of a writing test. Let's do a little bit of a writing test. It's been so long since I've written cursive, I really can't do it very well. I've forgotten how to write cursive. But as a whole, writing-wise, I'd have to say this works pretty good. Just when you're quickly writing, it definitely does come through a little bit less distinctive an ink than not. When you're writing a little bit more slowly, like I was up here, it definitely comes through much more distinct for sure. So definitely there is a certain speed you want to use with this pen. You definitely don't want to write too fast. A little bit slower is probably a little bit better with this pen. But I think if you write a little bit too fast, it's not going to be a big deal. It's just that your lines are not going to come through as distinctly as they might have if you wrote a little bit slower. And as a whole, no, I mean, like, seems to be pretty good. Let's see. You know, as we can see, I was writing a little bit slower than not, but like at around about the normal pace I'd write. And comes through a little bit more distinctly than not for sure. And when you're writing a little bit faster than your normal pace, or a little bit faster than my normal pace in precise, you can definitely tell it's not as dark, it's not as distinct as it would be otherwise. So writing-wise, I'd have to say this pen is pretty good. Let's go and just put the cap on the back and see how good it is to write with the cap on the back. I'd have to say I definitely prefer writing with the cap on the back. It's just got that little bit more weight towards the back kind of thing. Just a little bit more hard to pick up my pen off the page and like put it back down and everything like that kind of thing. But But at the same time, I do think I also prefer writing like this as well. But it is nice to have that little bit of extra weight just for when you're writing and everything like that kind of thing. But I'd have to say, even for writing, I think I prefer having the cap off of the pen, but some of y'all might prefer it. If you really like pens that are weighted towards the back, I do think that this will be to your preference with the cap on. But if you guys don't like it, well, y'all can always take the cap off. Let's go ahead and find out just how well this pen actually draws. Though one thing I do want to mention is that this pen does still roll a decent amount more so than not, even though it's not an actual circle. It does still roll though. That noise is actually really satisfying. I really like that noise. Let's go ahead and do a thorough test of how this draws, though. Let's go ahead and just do a little bit of a line up here and see how this smears. I just put that down. This ink really does not smear at all. It really doesn't, in all honesty. Wow, I'm impressed. The ink barely smears. That is pretty dang nice. Let's go and draw myself a little bit of a fish now. And as a whole, we can definitely tell this is 0.5. The ink does not spread out to any extreme degree. Like with some thicker inks, I definitely have to say some thicker inks definitely spread out just a little bit into the paper. This ink does not do that, which is something I appreciate. It allows the 0.5 size to really shine through and to be distinctly very thin and whatnot, which is something I like. As a whole, how smooth is this pen to draw with and to write with in general? There's definitely a little bit of roughness. It's definitely not the smoothest pen I've ever used, but I'd have to say for a 0.5 size pen, it's pretty average. Not the best I've ever used when it comes to smoothness for a 0.5 size pen, but definitely not the worst either. About average, I'd have to say. And layering this ink, you do definitely get a little bit more of distinctness for sure. So you can definitely layer the ink and get more distinctness from the pen, or from the drawing, if you're drawing with this pen, than not. And that's not something that is particularly hard to do. You just do a couple layers and boom, it's all of a sudden far more distinct than it was. This pen's definitely a little bit noisy when you're kind of drawing, but not terribly noisy when you're just kind of writing normally, I'd have to say. Definitely, everything comes through quite distinctly. Yeah, no, not bad at all. I'm liking this pen a decent amount. I don't think I like it quite as much right now as, like, let's say, a Pilot G2 or something like that kind of thing. But I definitely do not mind this pen one bit. And I definitely like this pen a lot more than some other pens I've used in the past. How good is this pen for writing from an angle? It's pretty good for writing at angles. Let's you know, even at that angle, it can do it. You know, this is a good pen for drawing. Yeah, this is not just a decent pen for writing. It's also a good pen for drawing because you can actually draw at an angle with it and everything like that kind of thing. Some pens that are obviously more meant for writing, they're really only good for drawing, like, almost straight up and down kind of thing. This pen, not so much. It's pretty good for drawing at just about every angle, and that's something I like quite a bit, frankly put. So that is another good thing about this pen. I have no clue how much this pen actually cost. My family member did not tell me. I did not ask them as it was a gift, but I assume it probably wasn't that much. It was probably like $1 or $2 USD, probably like 20 or 30, maybe even 40 pesos. I doubt it was probably any more than 35 pesos, though, if I had to guess. But, you know, no, I like this pen. It's pretty solid. It's pretty solid. You definitely get a very nice scratchy look to it. And it's not super rough on the page. It's decently comfortable to hold. It definitely would be more comfortable if it had like a rubber grip or something like that kind of thing. Or maybe a little bit of a thicker grip in general. I'd honestly prefer if this pen was just a little bit thicker, like around about like this thickness, but the same length it already is. I would really like that. But they didn't do that. But, no, it's pretty comfortable hold kind of thing. It's not bad. I can definitely, if I was holding this pen really hard, I tend to hold my pens pretty hard. If I was holding this pen hard for long periods of time, I can definitely see myself getting a little bit worn out. I can definitely see myself straining my hand a little bit. But just when I'm doing a quick drawing like this not such a big deal. And if I'm just holding the pen lightly, or if I'm holding the pen at an angle or in a different way, or if I just remember to switch up how I'm holding the pen every once in a while, should be all good kind of thing. But definitely if you're gripping it like that, it might be a bit small for your hands if you have hands of my size or bigger. As a whole, this fish is coming out pretty well. It's looking a little bit more scratchy than not due to the pen I'm using. You know, I'll admit, I like this pen. It's not like a solid 4 out of 4 for me, I'll acknowledge. But I do really like this pen, and it is a pen that I do think I would recommend buying if you see it. Can't talk about my final thoughts quite yet, because I'm not done drawing, and I'm not quite done testing out this pen and whatnot, but I think I know kind of what I want to say. And there we go. That's really the first official drawing. Well, I guess technically the second, because I did do a little bit of a doodle before this one. But that's the second drawing I've done with this pen. Overall, I like this doodle a little bit more so than not. And I can say I think I like using this pen a little bit more so than not as well. Let's do another little bit of a sketch. I'm just going to sketch a little bit of a different design just real quick. How many pages do I have in my sketchbook, actually? Let's see. I have one. Wow, I have not that many lines. I have not that many pages left. Wow, I'm almost through the sketchbook, y'all. Well, let's go ahead and just do a little bit of another drawing real quick. Let's do a little bit of an anime girl drawing, I'm thinking. Just kidding, not really an anime girl drawing. This is an okay drawing. It'll do. It'll do, kind of thing. Let's... give it antlers for some reason. Boom. Now it has antlers for some reason. I'm not exactly sure why. But, you know, I definitely have to say I'm going to be using this pen in the future for doing, like, a little bit more of, like, creepy drawings and stuff like that. I think the 0.5 size of the pen, along with just how distinctly the ink comes through, really does go very well with this sort of mildly creepy style that I like doing with a lot of my drawings. And so as such, I can definitely say for sure I'm going to be using this pen a decent amount in the future. What are my final thoughts on this pen, though? Do I like the Pentel EnerGel BLN 415 gel pen, though? As a whole, yeah, no, I do like this pen. I do like this pen. I think it's pretty dang decent. I think it's pretty good. I like this pen a decent amount, that is for sure. And I think the ink is very distinct. I think it's more comfortable than not to hold. I don't think it's the highest quality pen in the world. I mean, like, it does rattle just a little bit, but, you know, it gets the job done. It obviously didn't cost too much money either. And, you know, as a whole, I think this is a good pen to draw with. I think it's a good pen to write with as well, although I definitely would prefer drawing with this pen than writing with this pen. But I think you can draw with it, and you can definitely write with it as well if you need to. As a whole, I like the look of the pen. I like the way it draws. I like the way it writes. As a whole, it's not perfect. I can definitely see myself it's a bit thin for my hand personally, and just on the page, it's not the smoothest. It's a little bit more rough on the page than some other 0.5 pens I've used in the past, but the way the ink comes through very distinctly is something I really like, and that's really one of the main reasons why I like this, along with the fact that the ink really does not smudge. I'm like, I could barely get the ink to smear at all. That's something I really like as well. I'd have to say, solid. It's not a 4 out of 4 pen for me. It's not a 4 out of 4. But it's like a high 3 out of 4. It's like a mid to high 3 out of 4 when it comes to ratings. So out of 4, high 3 out of 4 for this pen right here. For context, my rating goes from a 1 to 4, with 1 being like, this is a terrible pen, never buy this, 2 being like, I don't like this pen, some of y'all might, 3 being like, this is pretty good, but it's not like the best thing ever, and a 4 out of 4 is like, this is the best thing ever. For me, a 4 out of 4 is like a G2, like a Pilot G2. That's like one of my favorite pens ever. And when compared to a G2, this is definitely like a high 3 out of 4, mid to high 3 out of 4, probably a more mid 3 out of 4 than not, but a 3 out of 4 nonetheless. And as a whole, good pen. I like this Mexican market Pentel EnerGel pen that I drew with for the first time in today's video. Let me know in the comments down below if you guys have this pen right here. Do you guys own this pen? Let me know y'all's thoughts on it. And of course, if you guys live in Mexico, let me know if this pen is actually popular or if it's not. I'm not sure. I have no clue. I'm not from Mexico after all. Thank you so much for watching this video, guys. I certainly hope you guys have enjoyed watching this video where I drew with this pen right here for the first time. If you guys have enjoyed watching this video, of course, please make sure to like and subscribe for more content. I have my Instagram, my book, my merch, my P.O. box, and my main channel all in the description down below. Go check it all out. But thank you so much for watching, y'all. Till the next one, stay safe and peace and have a great one. Yes, sir, and I'm saying.